The Netflix roast of Katt Williams and Kevin Hart is abruptly devolving into total pandemonium due to claims that the two comedians became violent backstage during the music performance. However, the most bizarre aspect is that there are now reports circulating that Katt was admitted to the hospital following the event. Allow me to explain. On May 10, 2026, Kevin Hart was roasted by The Rock, Katt Williams, Cheryl Underwood, Tom Brady, and more at one of the wildest live comedy gigs in recent memory that Netflix broadcast. Subscribe to Viral Reign TV. The tumultuous live comedy event presented by Shane Gillies on Netflix swiftly turned into a full-fledged free-for-all roast night. The Kia Forum in Los Angeles was jam-packed with hilarious, intimate jokes, star cameos, and mayhem. Every aspect of Hart's professional and personal life was represented in the roast lineup. Name Lynn and Chelsea Handler kicked things off, followed by Lizzo, Pete Davidson, Draymond Green, Big J Okerson, Tony Hinchcliffe, Regina Hall, and more comedians, partners, sportsmen, and lifelong friends. John Stamos, Seth Green, Machine Gun Kelly, Jennifer Lopez, Tracy Ellis Ross, and Jay Shetty were among the attendees at the discussion. However, the moment that everyone is discussing has nothing to do with Pete Davidson, Tom Brady, or The Rock. One of the biggest surprises of the evening was comedic icon Katt Williams, who arrived later. The self-described roast master general, Jeff Ross, subsequently told Variety that the only genuine stress he experienced during the evening was when Katt Williams suddenly showed up and began spying on Kevin. He claimed that Kevin appeared rather uptight, as if the two men hadn't seen one another in a while. That tension wasn't created for TV. It has been in construction for more than 10 years. About the last 10 years, their feud, which has involved allegations, public insults, and arguments about careers and business favoritism, became one of the most prominent rivalries in stand-up comedy. According to Jeff Ross's own description, the room transformed when Williams, wearing a cape, entered the stage and began pursuing Hart in front of millions of viewers on Netflix. The night is still defined by its aspect. The moment Katt Williams entered and altered the mood, not the list of celebrities or the attire. Prior to the live show, according to Ross, Hart and Williams had no communication. He made it clear that until Williams was on television, he didn't think they truly spoke. This indicates that the first time these two guys, who had been publicly tearing each other to pieces for years, faced each other again was in front of a camera in real time, without any safety precautions. Williams began by expressing his amazement at being invited, then went on, "That's how little star power you have. They had to start inviting your enemies, and that was just the beginning." In order to comprehend why a comedian entering a stage generated what appeared to be a real fight, we must go all the way back to the beginning. Kevin Hart and Katt Williams' rivalry did not begin overnight. It took years to build, fueled by deep-seated animosity at how Hollywood handles its black comedians, public charges, and genuine professional envy. Katt Williams and Kevin Hart have a long-standing feud in black humor. Katt Williams has a longer history. He was renowned for being the first short black man with a lot of energy who made huge expressions and overacted on stage. He was into that. When Kevin Hart appeared, the similarities were noted right away. They both had a lot of enthusiasm and were brief. In an August 2014 interview with TMZ Sports, Katt Williams stated that Russell Simmons and Shaquille O'Neal need to stick in their respective fields and leave comedy. Then said that he wanted his back, alluding to Kevin Hart, and labeled O'Neal a bum. Hart kept developing his film career while remaining silent in public. Hart's quiet became a habit. Hart was accumulating movie credits while Williams was hurling verbal bombs. At this point in his career, Kevin was making appearances in movies, including Ride Along, About Last Night, Think Like a Man 2, and Top 5. Then, in 2016, the gloves were removed. Williams' conspiracy theory tour took him to Phillips Arena in Atlanta in February 2016, where he compared Hart to Kermit the Frog, dubbed Hart a puppet, and stated that viewers should blame the hand within the puppet rather than the puppet itself. He also mentioned Jim Henson as the true target. For years, Hart would be followed by the term puppet. Williams later challenged Hart to a standoff comedy event in Philadelphia after calling him a puppet. However, he later expressed sorrow for his remarks and offered an apology. Hart did not immediately respond with a clapback. Fans saw Kevin's Instagram post on unity in the comedy industry that year as a subtle shot at Katt, even though Kevin did not specifically address Katt. He shared a picture of himself at the Oscars with Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle and wrote that great professionals know how important it is to keep together and support one another. He wrote, "It's about helping one another, not trying to tear each other down. The insecure ones will never understand that despite not nomming Williams, many speculated it was a veiled jab at his rival. But Williams was not done. He was nowhere near done." In his mind, Hart represented everything that was wrong with how the industry elevated certain comedians while leaving others behind. And in 2018, he found a new target connected to Hart, one that would finally force Hart to break his silence. In September 2018, Katt Williams dragged another comedian into the war. Katt Williams appeared on V103's Frank and Wanda show and questioned whether Tiffany Haddish had proven herself as a comedian, claiming she had not demonstrated the ability to perform for an hour. Haddish had just come off the massive success of Girls Trip in 2017 and was about to star alongside Hart in Night School. For Williams to go after her publicly was a calculated move. It put Hart in a position where staying silent would look like abandoning his co-star and music friend Kevin Hart. Mid-press Run for Night School appeared on Power 1051's The Breakfast Club and delivered a direct response. "You had the shot. You were the guy. You were set up to be the star. You did not show up to work," Hart declared. That was the first time Hart had directly engaged with Williams in public, and he did not hold back. Music he pressed further, arguing that Williams kept pointing at Hollywood and the industry rather than accepting personal responsibility, and then landed the line that followed Williams for years. "He chose drugs. Take responsibility for what you chose." Hart also challenged Williams on mentorship, asking whether he had ever used his platform to lift up the people beneath him, and answered his own question with a firm no. That Breakfast Club interview was the moment the feud became genuinely personal. Hart was no longer just ignoring Williams or posting subtle Instagram captions. He was going directly at the man's character, music, his choices, his failures. Hart later reflected on that moment, saying, "We were promoting Night School and Tiffany was affected by some of the things he said. It was more of a like support for her in that moment and some shots at him." But years later, Hart would come to regret it. Asked if he regrets responding to Williams, Hart said he does. "Yeah, I should never address him at all." He said, "I don't have to. Like, why? What will it do for me? What will I gain? There's no gain." Hart admitted to Charlemagne the God that he regretted engaging at all, clarifying the Breakfast Club remarks were more about supporting Haddish than any genuine desire to address Williams directly. Both men then retreated into their respective careers until one podcast appearance in January 2024 reignited everything with considerably more ammunition than before. Those years between 2018 and 2024 were a Cold War. Neither man spoke the other's name in public. Hart continued to stack blockbusters, Netflix deals, and arena tour. Williams continued to perform, but his public profile was markedly quieter. Then, a man named Shannon Sharpe handed Williams a microphone, and the explosion was heard around the entire internet. In January 2024, Katt Williams sat with Shannon Sharpe on the Club Shay YouTube program, and across nearly 3 hours made claims against Kevin Hart alongside several other targets. This was not a passing comment on a radio show. This was a nearly 3-hour demolition job that went viral faster than anything in comedy history. The interview amassed 37 million views in only 5 days. Williams declared that in 15 years in Hollywood, Nobody had a memory of a sold-out Hart show, a line for him, or a standing ovation at any comedy club. Williams then alleged that for 5 years, every film Hart made had previously been offered to him, and he had passed each one for content reasons. The industry plant accusation was the one that stuck. Williams claimed that in 15 years, no one had seen a sold-out Kevin Hart show with a line around the block. He alleged that Hart arrived in Hollywood with prearranged deals, including a network sitcom and the film Soul Plane, calling him an industry plant who stole movie roles. The interview did not just target Hart. Williams went after Cedric the Entertainer, Tiffany Haddish, and several others, but it was the Hart material that landed the hardest because of the specificity of the claims and the years of bad blood behind them. Hart's reply to Fox 5 was 7 words. You don't entertain the circus. You watch it. He simultaneously used the moment to post the trailer for his upcoming Netflix film, Lift, turning Williams' viral attack into free promotion. The efficiency was remarkable and entirely intentional. Publicly, Hart was dismissive, but privately, something was happening. Hart later revealed on Carmelo Anthony's 700 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast that the two had privately spoken and started moving toward a better place. Hart said during an episode of 700 p.m. in Brooklyn, me and Katt, there was always a little ruffle in the water for quite some time, but picking up the phone does a lot. Having direct conversations and removing the middlemen does a lot. As we got older, we got better at it. Now we understand we have a job to do, and the job is to be better examples. Those words are important because of what happened next. Despite those private conversations, music, despite what seemed like progress, Hart's team was about to make a decision that would bring both men face to face in a way nobody expected. In front of a live Netflix audience with no music, rehearsal, and absolutely no guarantee of how it would play out. Jeff Ross revealed that Hart personally pushed for Williams' inclusion in the roast, believing discomfort would make compelling live TV. That's not a man seeking peace. That's a producer looking for a moment, and he got exactly what he wanted. Toward the end of the evening, Regina Hall brought out a surprise guest, legendary comedian Katt Williams. He came out with a cape like a villain. The room immediately felt different. This year's roast saw an even longer. A standing feud comes to a head. When Katt Williams, 52, took the stage at California's KIA Forum. With that history of deep-rooted friction, many viewers were stunned to see Williams show up at Hart's roast. Williams did not ease into his set. He came out firing. He opened by saying, "Very humble of me to be at your GOAT roast tonight." Then added, "Kevin, I've won an Emmy Award, but this is going to be my best acting tonight as I pretend like you are a GOAT for the people at home." Then he went after the money. Williams continued, "You're wondering why I'm doing this for the money. This is my Riyadh Comedy Festival." William addressed the puppet accusations at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, saying on stage, "I did say that he was a Hollywood puppet, and I want to explain that because it might not be what you think." That was a clear allusion to Hart and other comedians who faced criticism for performing in Saudi Arabia. "I meant that the head of Netflix literally has his whole hand up Kevin's ass and can make him do anything," Williams said to the audience, referring to Hart as a plant because I keep burying him. He keeps springing back the FCK up just like a plant. Then came the Diddy line. "Just because Kevin went to Diddy parties does not mean he did something wrong," Williams said. "The fact that he gets all quiet when you bring it up means he did something wrong." Williams spent about 7 minutes on X commenting, "You coming out here is quite the fucking surprise. I can sit nevertheless, Katt music. I'm able to observe you. First of all, I'm a vacillating fan, so I can chuckle. First of all, Katt, I love music. In actual time, we have a chance. This is live TV to help us forget about our disagreements. I'm extending a peaceful olive branch to you. I'd like to be a brother. I'd like to be a Katt friend. I'd like to move on. Man, can we go on? Can we go on?" Williams responded by walking over to embrace Hart with a handshake and hug as the audience erupted in applause. But then came the twist. Music. Hart took the stage later in the evening, referring to his interaction with Williams earlier as some of the best FCK acting that he's done in his career. "I did not mean one word of what I said. FCK Katt Williams," he said jokingly. "Music." Then he went after Williams' career claims directly. Hart rattled off a list of films. Jumanji 123 music. Ride Along 1-2 Central Intelligence Think Like a Man 1-2 music. The Upside About Last Night Me Time Borderlands The Man from Toronto and Asked music. Williams. So you could do a cameo in Norbit You Think They Want a Ficking Pimp in Jumanji on a serious note. However, Hart shared his appreciation for Williams' participation in the roast. He said, "I meant what I said, that beef is over. Katt and I are friends from today moving forward now." Music. Let's address the elephant in the room. The word attacks in this story are doing a lot of heavy lifting. What Kevin Hart did to Katt Williams was not a physical altercation backstage. It was a verbal assault on stage in front of millions of viewers, wrapped in the format of a comedy roast that both men agreed to participate in. Jeff Ross confirmed the move to include Williams was Hart's idea, aimed at creating memorable TV through real discomfort. While the two shared a handshake on stage, Hart later admitted it was pure performance, reigniting speculation about their unresolved feud. Was Katt Williams hospitalized? There are no credible reports confirming that Williams was hospitalized after the roast. What is confirmed is that the tension music was real, the roast was brutal, and both men left marks, verbal ones, on each other that night. One commentator observed that Williams seemed to roll his eyes mentally during Hart's olive branch speech, walked music off the stage quickly without acknowledging what Kevin was saying, suggesting it wasn't really a genuine squashing of the beef. Some felt it was Kevin's way of trying to music save face. The on-stage peace accord was met with just as much ridicule as elation. Some couldn't tell if the beef was really over since Williams got another stage to roast his predecessor. The truth is that this was a roast, a controlled environment, where the entire premise is verbal destruction. The roast format provides a unique psychological safety net for feuding celebrities because the expectation is to insult. Dropping the act to offer kindness feels revolutionary. Williams' appearance was especially unexpected given the pair's very public tension, but their on-stage reunion played less like a continuation of the feud and more like proof that no comedy beef is too big for a Netflix roast. Nobody was hospitalized. Nobody was attacked backstage. What happened was something arguably more dangerous in the world of comedy. Two men with a decade of resentment between them, music, stood on a stage with live microphones and no script, and they both let it rip. Williams came out dressed like a villain and hit Hart with every accusation he'd been making for years. Hart took every shot, smiled through it, offered a handshake, and then when it was his turn, fired back with his own brand of calculated career-flexing humor. Jeff Ross put it best. He came out with a cape like a villain and he left like a friend. Whether that friendship is real or whether this was two professionals performing reconciliation for a Netflix audience is something only Kevin Hart and Katt Williams know for certain. One person on X captured the ambiguity perfectly, tweeting, "Hope y'all understand every joke he said was true." For all the chaos and flamethrower punchlines, the roast of Kevin Hart landed as a celebration of just how influential Hart's presence has become, both on stage and within comedy as a whole. But the image that stays with you is not the hug or the handshake. It is the look on Hart's face when Katt Williams walked out in that cape unannounced, and the room fell silent before the verbal onslaught began. That is what people mean when they say Kevin Hart was attacked at the roast. Not with fists, with facts, jokes, and a decade of receipts delivered live on Netflix in front of the entire